Hello, Assalamu alaikum. How are you all?
Wa Islam, Alhamdulillah.
Okay, I'll be sharing my screen with you guys. Do let me know if it is visible. Yes, is the screen visible?
Yes, yes. Well,
Okay. Okay, up till now we have covered a few topics, and the last one that we did was electrochemistry, right? So we're going to discuss a few MCQs related to the topic so that you get an idea of how to approach questions, okay? And then we're going to move on to a new topic. So if you look into this question, the first question here says, concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, it is electrolyzed using graphite electrodes. Okay. So concentrated aqueous sodium chloride is the electrolyte, which is being electrolyzed, and it undergoes the process of electrolysis. And the electrodes which are used here are inert electrodes, that is graphite electrodes. So graphite, carbon, and platinum, all of these they are referred to as inert electrodes. Okay, which means that they do not take part in the process of electrolysis. The question says that what is the product which is formed at the cathode? Write your answers in the chat box. Is it A, B, C, or D? Mention your answers in the chat box, okay? Yes, B is the right answer here. Good. Good, Ryan and Jaya. Good. What is your name? The A and R brothers. What is your name?
my name is Ayan Umer.
Ayan and Ryan. Okay, good, Ryan. So basically, what happens, we've discussed that be it concentrated or be it dilute, it does not have any direct implication onto the product which is formed at the cathode. This concentrated halide will only have the direct implication onto the product which is formed at the anode. Okay. So if we say that there is a concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, this means that little amount of water has been used and as a solvent to dissolve the sodium chloride. Okay, so this means that the cations that you have, since cations are the ones which are deposited onto the cathode, they are sodium ions and hydrogen ions. And if you look into the reactivity series, also I have sent you the relative reactivity series of the cations and the anions in the group. Okay, so do check it out. It says that the more reactive the metal is, it stays within the solution. This means that sodium ions are going to stay within the electrolyte, whereas hydrogen ions, they have greatest tendency to be deposited. The less reactive metal has the tendency to be deposited, which is why we have hydrogen gas, which is going to form here. Even if it says, supposedly, the context of the question changes, they say that dilute aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed using graphite electrodes. Okay, then your answer still remains the same, that the hydrogen gas is deposited or produced at the cathode. Okay, because concentration does not have to do anything with the product at the cathode, or the concentration only implies onto the product at the anode. Look into the next one. The next question here says, the diagram shows an electrolysis circuit at which electrode is hydrogen formed. Is it A, B, C, or D? Yes, good. B is the right answer. Good, Zoya and Ayan. Ayan, right? Ayan Umer.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So B is the right answer here. Always look into this. The larger side of the power supply, which is the longer side, basically, longer in length, it is always the positive side. Okay. And the smallest side is always the negative side. Okay. The negative terminal of the battery, or the shortest in length. Okay. So the one which is attached to the positive terminal of the battery has to be the positive anode. And how do we remember it? We remember it from the mnemonic, that is panic, positive anode, and negative is cathode. Okay. So the mnemonic says panic, and this means that negative has to be the cathode. Aqueous sodium chloride will only have hydrogen gas, which is deposited at the cathode, whereas at the cathode, having molten sodium chloride will only have sodium ions present within the electrolyte, which means sodium has to be deposited onto the cathode, okay? Which is why we don't choose option D. Look into this question here. This one says concentrated aqueous sodium chloride is it electrolyzed using inert electrodes. Gases X and Y, they are produced at the electrodes shown. What are the gases X and Y? Yes, B is the right answer. Can you elaborate on this, Ryan? Why do you think B is the answer?
B is the answer because the test tube over the negative is the cathode, and in the cathode, hydrogen gas is formed, and the test tube above the plus, which is the anode, chlorine gas is formed.
And why is that so? Why don't the sodium ions and the hydroxide ions, why aren't they deposited?
Because they're not gases.
No, this doesn't. For instance, if I say that oxygen gas can be deposited at the positive anode, that is, and can be collected in by test tube.
Yeah.
We have concentrated halide here. Okay. Look into the first statement. The first statement says that concentrated aqueous sodium chloride is present. So whenever you have a concentrated halide, okay, halide means any halogen based compound, okay? Halogens are group 7 elements. Group 7 elements that means fluorine, bromine, iodine, okay? So any of these halide ions, if they are present within the electrolyte and it is a concentrated solution of it. This means that the halide ions, they are present in greatest quantity as compared to the hydroxide ions, okay? And whenever you have concentrated halide, be it chloride, be it fluoride, bromide, iodide, anything, okay? But if it is a concentrated solution, this means that the halogen has the tendency to be deposited. This is the rule of electrolysis, okay? When we're using these inert electrodes. And so, however, the at the positive, for the cation, the hydrogen has to be deposited, whether it is a concentrated aqueous solution or whether it is a dilute aqueous solution. But you just have to look into the this context that it says that aqueous solution. Aqueous means that it has hydrogen ions and sodium ions both which are present. Okay, so at the cathode, always the negative ion, the cations they are deposited. Okay, which means that cations they are going to be attracted towards the negative cathode. Okay, and the incoming electrons will be accepted by the cations, and as a result, the hydrogen gas is produced. Okay, so hydrogen ions they are attracted towards the cathode, and they are going to accept the electrons to produce hydrogen gas. Whereas at the positive anode, chloride ions they are attracted towards the anode. Okay, opposite charges they attract each other, so they are going to be deposited as chlorine gas at the anode, and they're going to lose and give away their electrons. So when they give away their electron, those electrons they go away from the anode. Always remember the electron flow as well. It is always towards the cathode and away from the anode. All right. Are we clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Okay, look into this one. When molten lead to bromide is electrolyzed using platinum electrodes, what is observed at each electrode? Yes, good. C is the right answer here. Bromine gas will be deposited as it has a distinctive brown color, and bubbles of brown gas will be seen or observed, and lead appears to be as shiny gray in color. Okay, its appearance is shiny gray. So this option C is going to be the right one here. All right, look into the next one. Aqueous nickel to sulfate is used as the electrolyte to electroplate a piece of steel with nickel. Which materials are used as the negative electrode and the positive electrode? Is it going to be A, B, C, or D? Rayan, are you saying A for this one?
No, Miss, I want to change my answer.
Okay. Okay, Ayan Umair, why do you think D is the option choice?
Because we have aqueous nickel sulfate, so we are doing electroplating. So the substance which we like electroplate is gonna be on the positive electrode. Sorry. Wait a second. Yeah, on the negative electrode, and
Hmm.
with substance we can like use it to electroplate. We can put it on the positive electrode, so the nickel ions will be attracted to the negative electrode, and so
Hmm.
it will be electroplated like the steel.
Yes, so basically the object has to be placed always onto the negative
Negative.
electrode. Yeah,
Yes.
always the negative electrode. And the one which you have to electroplate it with has to be on the positive electrode. So since nickel is being used to be electroplated, and the object which is steel, it has to be electroplated with nickel, which means that steel being the object has to be always onto the cathode, which is your negative electrode, which is why we say that option B here is the correct option so far. Good. Okay. Moving on to another question. This is a similar question. Again, if you look into this is again a question related to electroplating. An object is electroplated with silver using an aqueous silver salt as the electrolyte. Okay. Whenever we electroplate any object, right? So the electrolyte always also has to be the aqueous solution of the same metal, right? So which row do you think is the correct one? Is it A, B, C, or D? Yes, good, Ayan and Zoya. D is the right answer. Object always has to be the cathode, and your other electrode, which is the anode, has to be the metal with which it is going to be electroplated with. So silver has to be the other electrode, whereas the electrolyte has to be the same metal's aqueous solution. Okay. Look at this question here. This says that the diagram shows the electrolysis of concentrated hydrochloric acid and concentrated aqueous sodium chloride using carbon electrodes. Now, at which electrodes is hydrogen produced? Yes, D is the right answer here. Ayla, why do you think D should be the right answer? And what do you think? Is D the right answer? Yes or no? Ayla Rauf, unmute yourself. Yes, Ayla, are you around? Ibrahim, Ibrahim, what do you think the answer should be? D is the correct option choice. Why? Because negative electrode has to be the cathode, and since both of them they are aqueous solutions, which means that hydrogen ions they get the chance to be deposited. If you look into concentrated hydrochloric acid, the only positive ion that you have here, or the cation that you have here, is the hydrogen ions. So they are the only ones which has to be deposited onto the cathode. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on to the next one.
Ma'am, just one thing I want to ask that, for example, if we have copper sulfate, aqueous copper sulfate, so in that, for the cathode, copper ions will be attracted, right? Because they are less reactive than hydrogen.
Yes. You
Okay.
always have to look into the metal reactivity series. The relative metal reactivity series is going to tell you which one is has the greatest tendency to be deposited. The
Okay.
least reactive the metal is, it has the greatest tendency or the greatest ease of discharge onto the cathode. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Whereas the more reactive the metal is going to be, it will stay within the electrolyte.
Okay. Thank you.
Look into this question here. Electrolytes, they can be broken down by electrolysis. Which rows are correct for each electrolyte? Now you have to look into the reaction at the cathode as well. Also look into the product at the anode according to the electrolytes which are given to you, and then mark your correct answer. Is it A, B, C, or D? We were doing question number 12. Very good, excellent. A is the correct answer choice. 1 and 2. Yeah. Can you tell me why, Zoya?
Yes, because in one where it's dilute aqueous potassium chloride, so hydrogen is formed at the cathode, and at the anode, oxygen will be formed since it's dilute. So hydroxide ions are less reactive. Then the second one, hydrogen is again formed in the hydrochloric acid since it's concentrated, and it is less reactive than no hydrogen. It's only hydrogen, so only hydrogen can be formed, and chlorine is formed at the anode.
Yes, chlorine will be formed at the anode since it is a concentrated electrolyte.
Yeah.
What about the third and the fourth one? What is wrong with these two rows?
So in the third one, at the cathode, we'll get aluminium, and at the anode, we should get oxygen.
Very good, excellent. Okay. For the fourth one, what did you say?
For the fourth one, hydrogen should be formed at the cathode, and bromine should be formed at the anode.
Yes, very good. Okay. Let's look into the next question. They've asked you an electrolysis experiment is done using carbon electrodes. Hydrogen and oxygen, they're both formed at the electrodes. What is the electrolyte? Now you have to find out which electrolyte you think is the most suitable one. Yes, C is the right answer here. Ryan, are you able to look into the options? Which one do you think is the right option here?
I don't know how to answer this question.
Why? Were you able to get it?
Not really.
Not really. Look, what do we have? What products do we have at both of these electrodes? We have hydrogen and there is oxygen, which is produced at the anode, right? So hydrogen, which is produced at the cathode, and at the anode, we have oxygen. Now, if you look into all of these options, you have the first option says aqueous copper 2 sulfate. Okay, aqueous copper 2 sulfate means that copper and hydrogen are present within the electrolyte, right? And if you compare both of these, copper has the greatest tendency to be deposited since it is the least reactive compared to both. Okay, which completely eliminates your answer choice A, right? Which means that because we want hydrogen to be produced at the cathode, right? If you look into the next one says concentrated hydrochloric acid. Whenever you have a concentrated halide, right, where you have chloride ions, which are the halide ions, which are present within the electrolyte, which means that chlorine gas will be deposited onto the anode, right? So you don't, and here the statement says that we want oxygen gas to be produced at the anode. This means that B option is also to be eliminated. If you look into the next one, it says dilute aqueous sodium chloride. Now here dilute aqueous sodium chloride means you have sodium ions. Always, whenever you have been given any electrolyte, just look into what ions do you have. When you know what ions are present, then you can easily find out which options are going to be correct. Okay, for instance, if you look into the ions which are present, there is sodium ions, hydrogen ions, chloride ions, and hydroxide ions, right? So if you look into this one, amongst all of these, amongst the cations specifically, hydrogen has to be deposited since it is the least reactive, right, as compared to sodium. So hydrogen will be formed at the cathode. And what about the chloride and the hydroxide? Hydroxide has the greatest tendency since it is dilute aqueous, right? Dilute aqueous halide solution. So whenever you have a dilute halide solution, then hydroxide has the greatest tendency. And always remember that amongst your anion relative reactivities, the hydroxide has the greatest tendency to be deposited amongst all of the anions. Okay. So which is why option C is the correct option here. For molten potassium oxide, again, you will have, since it will only have oxide ions and the potassium ions, so this means that potassium will be deposited onto the cathode, which is again incorrect.
Okay.
All right, look into this one. A concentrated aqueous copper 2 sulfate is electrolyzed using copper electrodes. Which ionic half equation describes the reaction taking place at the cathode? Is it A, B, C, or D? Yes, D is the right option here. Good.
Miss, before you continue, I have a question.
Yes, yes.
In the previous question, I know that D is the right answer, but can't C also be correct?
No, it cannot be correct. Why? It cannot be correct because if you look into this, it says that copper is losing 2 of its electrons to form copper ions, right? Or to ionize itself, okay? Which means that, which is completely not at all going to correspond with any of the half equations which take place or the reactions which take place at the cathode. Why? If you remember, in the last class, we discussed this thing. Do you remember this mnemonic red cat? This means that reduction always takes place at the cathode. Reduction takes place at the cathode. And reduction means that there is going to be a gain of electrons. Okay, electrons have to be gained onto the cathode. So this option C says vice versa. Option D says copper ions, they are going to accept two electrons to be deposited or to be discharged as copper metal. Okay. So this only is the reduction reaction. This will be oxidation reaction since it is losing electrons. Oxidation is loss of electrons and reduction is gain of electrons. Are we clear?
Yes, miss.
And what about the anode? At the anode, oxidation takes place, ox. At the anode, oxidation takes place, which means that at the anode, there's going to be loss of electrons, whereas at the cathode, there is always going to be reduction, that is gain of electrons. Okay. Let's look into another question here. Tell me the answer for this one. The diagram shows a circuit used to electrolyze aqueous copper to sulfate. Which arrows indicate the movement of the copper ions in the electrolyte and of the electrons in the external circuit? Okay. Yes, very good. C is the right answer here. Why is C, option C, the right answer here? Can anyone tell me?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, I can tell.
Yep.
Yeah, so we know that we are going to electrolyze aqueous copper sulfate. So firstly, we know that the electrons move from negative to positive terminals, and like we can see the arrow, it's moving. The number 3 is moving towards the positive, so we can mark that it's the movement of electrons. And for the copper ions have a charge of +2, and positive ions are attracted towards the negative electrode, which is the cathode, and so 2 is marking towards the cathode, and so that's the correct answer. 2 and
Very
3.
good. Very good. Very good explanation.
Yeah.
So, yes, this is the right answer. That is option C. We say that copper ions, since they are cations, they are going to be attracted towards the cathode, which means that the ions, the cation movement is always going to be attracted towards the cathode, which is going to correlate with 2, which means that you're going to absolutely eliminate options A and B, which marks that either your answer should be C or D. Now you're going to look into the movement or the flow of electrons. The electron flow is always away from the anode and towards the cathode. So the electron flow should be towards the cathode, which is going to be completely opposite the direction that 4 has mentioned, which means option C is the right answer choice here. And we again eliminate D as our option choice. Also, the external circuit, if some of the students, they don't get this part, that the external circuit is basically whatever is present outside this. Okay, the connecting wires, your power supply, this is your external circuit. All right, and the electrodes, when they're dipped within the electrolyte, there is only cations and anions which are moving within the electrolyte. There's no flow of electrons within the electrolyte. Okay, the electrons, they're going to move within, or they're going to flow within the external circuit, that is from the power supply or towards the power supply through this connecting wire, and they will move towards the cathode or the anode, and then they will be accepted either by the cations or will be delivered away from the anions. Look into this
I'm
one. This
just
is again,
one question. Sorry to
Mhm.
interrupt. That in this question, I'm just asking that aqueous copper sulfate is there. So we know at the cathode, for the anode, sulfate ions will be attracted, right? So how do we know that sulfate ions will be like attracted, or the hydroxide ions will be attracted?
which one will be deposited or discharged? Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So if when you know that what ions you have within the electrolyte, right? So you're going to look into or just mention that you have sulfate ions, that is SO4 2 minus, and you have hydroxide ions. If you look into the relative reactivities of both of the anions, hydroxide ion has the greatest relative reactivity or greatest ease of discharge. Okay. So it has the greatest tendency to be deposited onto the anode as compared to any of the anions which are present within the electrolyte, be it sulfate, be it
Okay.
nitrate, be it any other halide ions. Okay. So
Okay.
always hydroxide ions will be deposited since they have the greatest ease of discharge onto the anode.
Okay. So even if it's dilute.
Whether it is for dilute and concentrated both, but the only rule that changes the product at the anode is that if you have a concentrated halide solution and you also have hydroxide ions which are present within the electrolyte, then only the halide ions are going to be deposited.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Let's move on to the next one. Look into this question again. This is a similar kind of a question. Tell me the answer for this one.
Miss, I meant to put A, not C.
Okay, so Ryan marked C, Zoya and Ayan, Omer, they are saying A.
Miss, I meant to say A, not C. Sorry.
You've changed your mind?
Yes,
What do you think the answer is or should be?
A.
A. Why?
Because the electrons go away from the anode.
Yes.
Chlorine ions are attracted towards the anode, and
Mhm.
sodium ions should be attracted towards the cathode.
Yes. The negative ions, they are attracted, or the anions, they are always attracted towards the anode. The cations are always attracted towards the cathode, and they accept electrons, whereas the chloride ions, since they have excess of electrons, which is why they're going to give away their electrons. So option A is the right answer choice. Okay, just let me check. Okay, I think there is one more. Yeah. Are you guys able to look into this new PDF?
Yes, miss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the answer for the first one? Which row about hydrogen oxygen fuel cell is correct? Is it A, B, C, or D? Yes, good. A is the right answer here. Hamdan, can you tell me why A is the right answer here? You don't know how to explain. The equation for the reaction is there is basically in a hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, hydrogen and oxygen is they're going to react together to form only one sole product, and that is water, which is why we say that there is no primary or secondary pollutant which is formed as a result, since in combustion of fossil fuels to produce energy, the carbon dioxide gas, which is produced along with the water molecules, is actually a pollutant. Okay, so we say here in this hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, water is the only sole product which is completely harmless, and the energies which are the energy transfer is going to be from chemical to electrical. You see that electrical energy is being produced, and this electrical the amount of energy which is produced as a result, it is then utilized to supply electricity to the factories, to the industries, to the domestic for domestic purposes and all, right? So, which is why we say that option A is the correct answer here so far. Okay.
Miss, can I ask something?
Yes, yes.
So nowadays there's a lot of electric cars. Is this what they're using? The hydrogen fuel cell?
Are you talking about electric vehicles, the hybrid cars and all?
Yeah.
I have no idea about that. I will look into it and then I will let you know.
Okay. Thank you.
I know about the hybrid cars and all, but I really don't know what power supply or what energy do they use. Okay. Look into the next question. Which gases are used to generate electricity in a fuel cell? Yes, that's going to be this is a very straightforward question. Hydrogen and oxygen. So 1 mark can be easily obtained using this. Look into question number 4. Tell me the answer for this one. Is it going to be A, B, C, or D? Yes, D is the right answer here. The fuel cell basically produces energy and the electricity, which is going to power an electric motor. So D here is the correct option. All right. Okay, tell me the answer for this one. Question number 6. Which statement about hydrogen oxygen fuel cells is correct? Hydrogen is extracted from clean dry air, or the only product is carbon dioxide. The reaction is endothermic, or no toxic gases are produced. Yes, Ryan.
Does it mean like no toxic gases are produced during using it or during the production of it?
Come again?
Does it mean like no toxic gases are produced?
After the chemical reaction.
Oh, okay.
Yes, D is the right answer. Good. No toxic gases are produced. Only the sole product that is produced is water. The reaction is exothermic in nature. Okay. The release of energy basically is exo in nature. And the only product is carbon dioxide. This is absolutely incorrect. The only product is water. Hydrogen is extracted from. Where is hydrogen extracted from? Yes, anybody? Why is option A not the correct option?
Miss, I'm just going to make a guess.
Hmm.
Is it from like when acids from acids?
Anyone else?
Ma'am, natural gas.
Natural gas, yes, you can say so. Also, hydrogen is extracted from,
Like the fractionating
when,
column of the
yes,
liquefied
from,
air.
or or from your organic compounds. When organic compounds, they are decomposed, they are broken down from larger hydrocarbons to smaller hydrocarbons. There is a great amount of hydrogen which is produced in that way. Okay. And which is where the hydrogen is maybe extracted or in many other various ways. Okay. So option A is not the correct answer here. We BC I told you, and we discussed that option D is going to be the right answer here. Okay. No toxic gases that are produced. Tell me the answer for this one. Question number 8. Yes, Zoya.
Miss, when there's the breakage of from high, like greater hydrocarbons to smaller, isn't like water formed?
Is it what?
Isn't water formed?
No, water is not. When larger hydrocarbons, they are broken down into smaller ones, either multiple fractions of smaller hydrocarbons are produced along with hydrogen gas. Okay. And that solely depends upon what temperature and pressure is used for their catalytic conversion or catalytic cracking or thermal cracking. Okay. So as a result, hydrogen gas is produced, not water. Water is not at all produced.
Okay.
The major sources that you get hydrogen directly from is from your catalytic cracking or your natural gas or your biomass. The answer to question number 8 is A. Yes, A is the right answer. Statements 1 and 3, they're correct. The water is formed as the only waste product, and the overall reaction is hydrogen reacting with oxygen to produce water molecule. And option 2 and statement 2 and 4, they're completely incorrect. The overall reaction is exothermic, and only water is formed as a waste product. And also you have to look into, whenever you look into chemical reactions, you must see whether they are chemically balanced and must be chemically balanced. Okay. All right. Let's just delve into a new topic. I will give you a basic gist of this, and today we don't have much time but left. I will begin with this tomorrow, inshallah. Chemical energetics, we're going to start next. This is basically the studying of the chemical reactions and how when they proceed, there's going to be energy transfers. Okay, so we're going to deal with energy transfers here, chemical reactions having energy transfers, which mainly includes And hereby we directly classify the chemical reactions into exothermic and endothermic reactions. You will be able to, we're going to look into calculations that involves bond energy breaking and bond energy formation, and how the enthalpy change comes into place, and how it is calculated. Okay. We will also look into the reaction profile diagrams for these. These are the main things which are usually asked up in your exam paper, and that is important for the basis of your exam. Okay, so this is it for today's session. I will send you these two PDFs for further review if you guys want. And the previous week's lessons, they have been uploaded onto Google Classroom. So if anybody has not reviewed it, you can review it later on. Okay, if you want. That's all from my side. I have been receiving only few quizzes. Why the rest of the class is not attempting the quiz? I got only
Ma'am,
few
actually, I am new, so can you tell me about the quizzes? What is the criteria about them?
quizzes. There are live quizzes which are usually uploaded on Google Classroom. You have to submit the quiz on Google Classroom, and the evaluations they are then sent later on to you.
Okay,
So weekly you have one live quiz.
okay. I heard that it's on Thursday, right?
It is on Thursday. Yes, Thursday 6 p.m. Pakistan time.
Okay.
Okay. So this is it for today's session. Thank you. Take care. Allah Hafiz. Bye bye. Allah
Yes,
Hafiz.
I have only received like one or two rejected quizzes.
Sorry, Zoya. What did you say?
I'm saying that I've only received one or two checked quizzes.
Yeah, I will send you the rest as well.
Okay.
I am checking it, but I get very less time to do the rest of the evaluations. But I will send you the rest, inshallah, in a few days.
And ma'am, one thing, that where can we get these recorded classes?
On Google Classroom, I upload the
Okay.
links on Google Classroom, the Google Drive links on the Google Classroom, and you can access
Okay.
it over there.
So can you send me the link like privately in my WhatsApp?
Yeah, just message
Oh,
me.
okay. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Jazakallah khair.
No worries. Take care. Allah Hafiz. Bye.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Ailash.